I am the second princess of the Fuxi Divine Clan, yet I fell in love with a red fox of humble origin. My imperial father grew even colder towards me, simply passing the throne to my elder sister. I had no desire for power. I only wished to accompany my red fox husband day and night, to elevate my red fox's 30 veins. I retrieved my heart essence scroll, and fed it to him, mouthful by mouthful. Not long after, he ascended to become a noble nine-tailed fox of the 30 veins. Within my belly, I also carried a child. On the day of childbirth, my beloved red fox husband took advantage of my weakness, and gravely wounded my neck.
You should have exited the stage long ago. Only Jilan, a true royal heir, is worthy of my nine-tailed vein.
My elder sister entered, smiling faintly, and nestled into the red fox's embrace. I collapsed in despair. When I opened my eyes again, I was back on the day of choosing a spirit companion. The red fox abandoned me, and resolutely chose to be with my elder sister. Watching the triumphant smiles on their faces, I suddenly understood they had also been reborn. I scoffed inwardly. My elder sister did not know that without my nurture, the red fox was merely an ordinary demon creature. Yet, I was the true heir to the royal lineage. Above the divine temple, my imperial father, who should have already perished, was gazing at me with indifference.
Liyue, do you truly intend to forsake all these divine beasts and choose this ordinary fox spirit instead?
At this moment, I finally dared to believe that I had truly been reborn. In my previous life, upon the divine temple, I poured out my true feelings, confessing my love to the red fox, hoping my imperial father would grant us his blessing. The assembled divine officials, the divine generals, exchanged knowing glances. My imperial father was utterly disappointed in me. He simply acquiesced to my request. Thereafter, he completely disregarded me. Recalling the fervent words of my confession in my previous life, and then seeing red fox's calculating visage, I couldn't help but feel a surge of revulsion. I must have been utterly blind to choose such an ungrateful wretch. Amidst the rising murmurs of the crowd, Red Fox suddenly broke the silence. He knelt on both knees.
Your Majesty, I harbor no affection for Princess Liyue. My words just now were merely her own wishful fancy. The one I truly cherish is the eldest princess, Su Jilan.
Impudence. A princess of our imperial house is not yours to pick and choose from. Guards, seize him. Seize this fox. Demon.
As a second daughter of ordinary lineage, my own self-abasement might be inconsequential, but my imperial father would never permit it. For my elder sister, the favored daughter of the heavens, and the future heir to the throne, to unite with a demon of no apparent destiny, my elder sister intervened, stopping the guards, and helped Red Fox to his feet.
Imperial father, you must not underestimate Red Fox. Before 3 years have passed, he will ascend to become the legendary nine-tailed fox, Immortal of the Divine Clan.
How can you be so certain of this?
Just 2 days ago, I awakened the celestial resonance and learned that I am the reincarnation of the Empress Regnant. Once I achieve immortality, I, along with Red Fox, shall lead the Immortal Clan to an era of unparalleled glory.
A legend in the immortal realm foretells, on the day the Empress Regnant descends to the mortal realm, the Immortal Clan, whose spiritual essence is nearing depletion, shall experience a grand rebirth. My elder sister's fabrication matched the ancient prophecy perfectly. From His Majesty, the Emperor, down to the divine generals and immortal officials, all were plunged into shock and ecstasy. His Majesty immediately decreed that my elder sister be crowned the future Immortal Empress. The multitude of officials knelt one after another, paying homage to the imperial heir. Red Fox knelt on one knee, holding a dazzling luminous pearl in his hands.
My dearest, this Jiao Pearl is the token of our love that I give to you. I hope you do not disdain it.
I hope you do not disdain it. Amidst the cheers and celebrations of the crowd, Red Fox and my elder sister embraced tenderly. In that instant, it felt as if my heart had been torn once more. From the vast ocean, under the bright moon, pearls shed tears. Jiao pearls are indeed the tears of Jiao people. That priceless Jiao pearl was a tear shed by my mother just before her passing, and also her farewell gift to me. As the ceremony neared its end, Red Fox and my elder sister gazed at me with mocking eyes. This pair, who merely used each other, must be quite content now. Alas, my elder sister does not know that without my nourishment, Red Fox is merely an utterly ordinary spirit creature. The nine-tailed fox immortal she desires will never manifest in this lifetime. My beloved husband, Red Fox, will also not understand that the true reincarnation of the Empress is in fact me. When I was 12 years old, I had already awakened the Empress's soul. Otherwise, a mere ordinary immortal's essence would be incapable of allowing it to evolve into a nine-tailed fox immortal, the one who can become the Empress of the Immortal Clan and bring glory to our people. It can only be me. Once I have passed my tribulation and ascended to immortality, not even my imperial father can rival me. The ceremony was nearing its end.
Liyue, you should choose another companion beast.
I pointed to the corner, at the black snake guard responsible for the palace. That one. A flicker of disappointment crossed my imperial father's eyes, yet he said nothing more. My elder sister let out a snicker and said mockingly,
Little sister, you forego choosing a divine beast, yet pick a mere steady black snake. When you chose this companion beast, could it be you had other considerations?
In 3 years you will understand who is the common fox, who is the true dragon. Back at my temporary palace, I immediately began to lavish vast amounts of heavenly treasures and earthly delights on cultivating that ordinary black snake. My choice of the black snake was not made in a moment of foolishness. When I was 14, my imperial father took my elder sister and me on an autumn hunt. My elder sister set an ambush midway, and, in an isolated spot, I was almost attacked by a pack of boar demons. It was the black snake who led his patrol to my rescue, repelling the boar demons and saving me, covered in wounds. That day, my shoulder blade was fractured, 3 ribs were broken, and my thigh was gashed by a boar demon's bite. Afterward, my imperial father's punishment for my elder sister was merely 7 days of confinement. Of this, I was not surprised. My imperial father father's hatred for me was perhaps no less than my elder sister's. This was because when I was born, my mother suffered a difficult labor with severe blood loss. Her body became extremely weak thereafter, and when I was 3 years old, my mother passed away. My elder sister proclaimed me an ill omen and demanded I pay with mother's life. My imperial father treated me with cold indifference as if I were a stranger. Thus, when I was 12 years old and awakened the memories of my previous life as an empress, I told no one. I feared that once my secret was revealed, my imperial father and elder sister would move against me and seize my destiny. When I transcend tribulation and ascend to immortality, I will make them pay. Under my meticulous cultivation, Black Serpent, in just 1 year's time, ascended to become a precious 4-legged golden python of the 30 veins. Black Serpent treated me with utmost tenderness and absolute loyalty. He was 1,000, no, 10,000 times better than Red Fox. He expressed his feelings for me several times, wishing to be with me always, yet I rejected him every time. Black Serpent felt wronged.
Liyue, is there something I have done wrong that makes you so unwilling to be close to me?
You males are always fickle and indecisive, always longing for what lies beyond. Black Serpent hurriedly tried to explain.
I have not.
Black Serpent's conduct was indeed exemplary. However, with Red Fox's precedent, I could no longer trust anyone. Suddenly, the sound of rushing wind echoed in the distance. My imperial father, accompanied by my elder sister, descended from the sky into the courtyard. To my recollection, it was the first time my imperial father had ever visited my separate residence. As soon as he landed,
Liyue, your elder sister's companion beast, Red Fox, has been gravely injured due to a failed ascension. This father needs to borrow a precious item from you to heal Red Fox.
all the treasures in your imperial treasury, all of them were bestowed upon my elder sister. What treasures could I possibly possess?
What I desire, you most certainly possess.
What?
Your vital heart essence.
In that instant, my face turned ashen white. The vital essence of a true-born daughter of the immortal imperial family can make flesh grow upon bare bones, possessing the power to transform decay into wonder. In my previous life, I would extract my heart's vital essence each year and feed it to the Red Fox. The Red Fox, drawing upon my strength, ascended to its peak step by step. When my elder sister underwent her ascension, unable to withstand the heavenly tribulation, she nearly failed at the precipice of success. The Red Fox then sacrificed its own cultivation, expelling the vital essence it had accumulated over many years, which transformed into luminous lotus flowers of spiritual light. My elder sister ascended upon these lotus platforms, climbing step by step to the heavenly palace, and attained her immortal rank. I never imagined that even after living this life anew, I would still be destined to be their sacrifice. On what grounds? My elder sister cast a scornful glance my way.
Because you are but a common being. Because you owe the Empress a life. In the future, I shall assume our imperial father's throne with the might of an Empress. I shall lead our clan to unparalleled glory. As for you, you can only cower in a side chamber, accompanied by your Black Serpent, should your heart's vital essence enable the Red Fox to ascend. That will be your sole and greatest work.
I was so consumed by rage that I felt suffocated and breathless. My mind reeled in a dizzying haze. I looked to our imperial father, my eyes pleading for aid.
Jillan is the reincarnation of an empress and bears the glory of our immortal clan upon her shoulders. Liyue, for the sake of our entire clan, we can only ask you to make this sacrifice.
My heart turned to ash. I ceased to argue. Just as I resigned myself to my fate, the Black Serpent suddenly manifested its true form, a 4-legged golden python. It desperately charged towards Father Emperor and my sister.
Liyue, I will hold them back for you. Hurry, leave now.
I stared at the Black Serpent in astonishment. A mere lesser demon, daring to fight a divine emperor to the death. He must be mad. Father Emperor playfully exchanged blows with the Black Serpent. Barely a minute passed, and the Black Serpent was covered in wounds, and had already reverted to its original form. If he were not my companion, he would have been gravely injured by Father Emperor's very first move. The Black Serpent struggled to rise from its injuries, gritting its teeth, determined to fight again. At this moment, I suddenly understood. It turns out not everyone is as ungrateful and treacherous as the Red Fox. The one who truly loves me, the one willing to sacrifice everything for me, was right by my side all along. With tears in my eyes, I shielded the Black Serpent and lowered my head, saying, "Cease this. I will agree to your terms." The enraged Black Serpent still wanted to fight.
If they wish to harm you, they will have to step over my corpse.
With a gentle palm strike, I knocked the Black Serpent unconscious. I ordered a maidservant to take him away to rest. I then followed Father Emperor and my sister. We arrived at the Imperial Medical Ward. Father Emperor held a dagger and extracted my heart's essence blood. My sister used an instrument to collect the fresh blood imbued with divine power, meticulously gathering the divine essence until an entire vial was filled. I convulsed with pain, cold sweat pouring down my forehead. In this torment, I knew not how much time had passed. They finally collected enough essence blood. With only a sliver of life remaining, my wounds were treated by the palace healers, and I was given healing elixirs. I lay confined to my bed for a full 10 days. Only then could I barely rise from my bed. Attendants then helped me back to my chambers. When Black Serpent saw my haggard state, he was enraged to the point of madness. He gnashed his teeth until they drew blood, and swore a solemn oath. He vowed to avenge me and wipe away this humiliation. I gently caressed his hair and comforted him, saying, "That day will surely come." That very night, Black Serpent became my true husband. As the reincarnation of the Empress, my destiny could also influence that of my consort. At this time, Black Serpent already possessed the purest divine essence within his body. With but a single moment of enlightenment, he could transform into a dragon. Yet, the red fox who had betrayed me, even with the nourishment of heart essence blood, showed no signs of advancement. 2 years passed. The ceremony for the Immortal Clan's successor began. My elder sister, adorned in a phoenix coronet and robes of rank, stood side by side with Red Fox at the center of the Ascension platform. My imperial father, leading the civil and military officials of the Immortal Court. A grand procession of thousands watched from below. The spiritual veins of our Immortal Clan are depleted. Only with the descent of the Empress can we be saved. Today, Princess Jilan ascends to immortality, inheriting the Empress's power. Our Immortal Clan has hope for revival. Fortunately, Princess Jilan has proven her worth. If she were like Su Liyue, only knowing how to remain with Black Serpent, our clan would surely perish. Su Liyue, as a princess, yet lacks ambition, truly brings shame upon the royal family. The murmurings of the crowd were particularly harsh. My expression remained calm, as if I had not heard a word. Upon the Ascension platform, Su Jilan is bringing this upon herself. She will soon invite disaster. They will soon understand that I am the true Empress of the Immortal Clan. Soon, my sister and the Red Fox unleashed their divine power and began their tribulation. In an instant, heavenly thunder ignited earthly fire, transforming into an endless force of cosmic laws, sweeping towards the two figures on the Ascension platform. My sister let out a painful shriek, her posture utterly disheveled. The Red Fox, lacking sufficient power, only lasted a few breaths before being forced back into its original form. Half an hour later, the heavenly tribulation concluded. My sister's hair was disheveled, and she was covered in wounds. She had barely survived the ordeal. The Red Fox's power was too weak, and it failed its tribulation. It lay on the platform, barely clinging to life. Its eyes full of regret and unwillingness were fixed on me. In my previous life, when the Red Fox underwent tribulation by my side, it had directly transformed into a nine-tailed demonic fox and easily passed the tribulation. But now, its cultivation utterly ruined. It looked utterly pathetic. I offered a faint smile and mouthed a word to it. Su Jilan, who had successfully passed her tribulation, cast a scornful glance at the Red Fox.
Don't pretend to be finished. Later, when I inherit the Empress's power, I will save your life.
The Red Fox, dragging its injured leg, piteously climbed down from the Ascension platform. As it brushed past me, the Red Fox still did not forget to make excuses for itself.
Su Liyue, do not be so smug. Once Jilan inherits the Empress's power, I will still be able to transform into a nine-tailed fox and stand with her at the pinnacle of the immortal realm.
The Black Serpent kicked it down, kicked it several meters away. My imperial father said with satisfaction.
Jilan, now that you have achieved immortality, quickly inherit the Empress's power. Our myriad immortal clans have awaited this moment for far too long.
The assembled officials cried out in unison.
We implore Princess Jilan to inherit the power, ascend to the Empress's throne.
My sister was clearly starting to panic. She had always fabricated the story of being the Empress's reincarnation. Now, she could no longer get away with it. Left with no other choice, my sister raised her hands to the heavens. She devoutly prayed for the Empress's grace to bestow power upon her. After kneeling awkwardly for half an hour, the heavens showed no reaction whatsoever. My sister, her face flushed red, awkwardly explained.
Imperial Father, I am too exhausted today. Once I am well rested on another day, I shall return to inherit the Empress's power.
My imperial father's expression turned grim. He remained silent. Below the stage, the officials whispered amongst themselves. All doubted the truth of Su Jilan's words. I knew. The chance for my counterattack had arrived. I took the Black Serpent's hand. We quickly walked to the center of the Immortal Ascent platform. Su Jilan's brow furrowed tightly. She reprimanded me as usual.
Su Liyue, what are you doing here? Don't bring your Black Serpent here to make a spectacle of yourself. Hurry and get down. Get down now.
I sneered. The Empress's power will not appear on someone who schemes with a calculating heart. You may have snatched that fox from my side, but you cannot snatch away my destiny. My sister angrily demanded.
If I cannot, do you truly believe you can?
I smiled and said, that is right. I am indeed the Empress reincarnated into this mortal realm. The Emperor was enraged.
Su Liyue, how dare you utter such baseless nonsense in public? You have utterly shamed the imperial family. Guards, take Su Liyue to the Imperial Clan Court. Inflict severe injury upon her legs as a punishment.
The assembled officials began to murmur amongst themselves.
Su Liyue and that black snake also wish to seize this chance to ascend and reverse their fate. A pipe dream, most likely with just one strike of heavenly lightning. They will both lose all their cultivation. Su Liyue, to merely gain attention, has truly gambled everything.
I paid no heed to the harsh murmurs of the crowd. Instead, I took the black snake's hand, and together we unleashed our power, once again drawing forth the heavenly tribulation. From atop the viewing platform, the Emperor furiously launched an attack. A crimson palm print, carrying terrifying oppressive power, descended directly upon me. At this moment, I had already reached the critical juncture of my tribulation. For those of the immortal realm undergoing tribulation, it is often a matter of 9 deaths and 1 life. If they succeed in their ascension, they will attain the rank of a true immortal, enjoying immense power and boundless longevity. However, should they fail, they will become like the red fox sprawled helplessly on the ground, losing all their cultivation. Worse yet, they may even lose their very life force. At this most crucial juncture, the Emperor, however, sought to strike me down. I was utterly powerless. I could only watch helplessly as the crimson palm print drew ever closer to me.
You shall not touch her.
The black snake once again shielded me. He roared furiously, facing the heavens. In that instant, his body shimmered with brilliant gold, and his form expanded against the wind, transformed into a 100-jang-long 5-clawed golden dragon. With a gentle sweep of its claw, it dispersed Father Emperor's attack. Then, treading on wind and clouds, it circled overhead, its majestic gaze sweeping over the land. In Father Emperor's eyes, a flicker of astonishment appeared.
No, impossible. The 5-clawed golden dragons of the immortal realm have been extinct for over 5,000 years. How could one possibly reappear in the world?
The five-clawed golden dragon is a legendary divine beast, even more powerful than the bloodline of the nine-tailed fox demon. Its scales condense the spiritual energy of heaven and earth. Its dragon's breath can purify immortals and demons alike. Its dragon's might can awe all spirits across the three realms. Since the ancient immortal wars, they have vanished from the immortal realm, leaving only legends passed down through generations in ancient texts. Mo Zechwan roared to the heavens, his dragon's roar echoing through the nine heavens. The clouds churned like waves, shattered and dispersed by his dragon's might. His colossal body pierced into the clouds. Though the heavenly might of the lightning tribulation was fierce, it seemed like a tailor-made baptism for him. His golden dragon scales shimmered brilliantly in the lightning. With each bolt of heavenly lightning that struck, his aura grew stronger. Within the intricate network of his dragon body, divine power surged like rivers. In but a fleeting moment, he had completely overcome the lightning tribulation. The golden light around him slowly receded, transforming into a handsome figure. He prostrated himself before me, his forehead touching the ground. His voice was respectful, yet carried a hint of barely discernible apprehension.
Liyue, I beg you to bestow a name upon me.
I gazed at him calmly, my eyes swirling with the scars of my past life and the wariness of this one. I said indifferently, you have already used my power to transform from a black serpent into a divine dragon. Why would I need to bestow a name upon you? Perhaps you should follow Imperial Father or Su Jilan. Only then would you have a better future. Witnessing Mo Zechwan's achievement today, I cannot help but recall the red fox from my past. That red fox had also accompanied me during my most arduous times, through countless long nights. Yet, in the end, it succumbed to the allure of power and turned to cast me into the abyss. As a child, after Imperial Mother's passing, Imperial Father abandoned me in a desolate side hall. That side hall was gloomy and chilling, frigid and damp. It was thick with spiderwebs. Imperial Father would not spare me a single glance throughout the year. The palace attendants, ever opportunistic, would withhold my rations and food entirely, leaving only cold scraps and leftovers, barely enough to keep me from starving. At night, I, a child of 6 or 7, would be too hungry to sleep, curled up on the frigid couch, listening to the rustling wind outside the window. It was then that the red fox appeared, having slipped in from who knows where. With its small, untransformed body, it would rub against the back of my hand, and every night thereafter it would hunt for me, bringing rabbits, roasted to a fragrant crisp over a small fire, and presented them before me. The red fox then, its eyes sparkling brightly, as if holding the myriad stars of the heavens. We made a solemn vow to each other, to accompany one another throughout our lives, and to journey together across all the mountains, rivers, lakes, and seas of the immortal realm. I once believed that was the most genuine affection in all the world, yet I never imagined that while we could endure hardships together, we could not share in prosperity. The red fox did not remain by my side out of loyalty, but because at that time he was merely an ordinary red fox of humble lineage, with no opportunity to attach himself to power or influence. To him I was nothing more than a piece of driftwood in his time of despair. Once he caught sight of a higher branch, he would cast aside the driftwood without hesitation. The more hope one has, the greater the disappointment. The red fox's betrayal had long since made me afraid to trust anyone again. Even if Mo Zechwan were to defy the heavens and transform into a dragon for me at this very moment, I still could not immediately open my heart to him, fearing it might be yet another meticulously planned scheme. Upon hearing this, Mo Zechwan, a flicker of panic and resolve flashed in his eyes. He abruptly raised his head, with intense emotions swirling within his gaze. It was a unique blend of his unwavering devotion and profound affection.
Liyue, you may strike me down, but you cannot drive me away. Even if I were to lose my life force until the very last second of my existence, I would still be your companion beast in this life, and for all eternity. This remains true.
His words rang with conviction, making my eardrums tremble slightly, and causing my long frozen heart to quietly begin to thaw once more. In my past life, I was betrayed by my beloved and scorned by my closest kin. Never had anyone stood by my side with such unwavering resolve. Even when facing the immortal emperor's oppressive might, even if the path ahead was strewn with thorns, he was willing to accompany me through life and death. I suppressed the prickling sensation in my nose, and the urge to shed tears. The lump in my throat transformed into a soft whisper. Very well, I bestow upon you a name. Your name shall be Mo Zechwan. The serpent belongs to the earth element, while the dragon follows the clouds. A dragon follows the cloud. As an auspicious beast, you are destined to bring vitality to mountains and rivers, and save all living beings. Mo Zechwan was very pleased with his new name. The gloom in his eyes vanished completely, transformed into a sky full of starlight. He rose excitedly, transforming into his true form, a golden dragon, and soared once through the clouds. His dragon tail swept through the flowing clouds, stirring up a sky full of golden light. Then he transformed back into human form and knelt on one knee to thank Liyue for bestowing the name. Su Jilan, standing nearby, witnessed all of this. Envy flashed in her eyes, jealousy, hatred, and a myriad of other complex emotions. These emotions intertwined, twisting her features into an ugly grimace.
Su Liyue, you dare to let your companion beast disrespect Father Emperor. This is blatant insubordination. It is a grave crime of treason.
Father Emperor gazed at Mo Zechwan, who soared high in the firmament. The shock in his eyes gradually faded, replaced by an unconcealable glint of greed. A five-clawed golden dragon. That is a legendary divine beast. If he could harness its power for his own, his imperial authority would become even more unshakable. He might even surpass all immortal emperors of old and dominate the entire immortal realm. He cleared his throat and once again donned a facade of stern majesty. He addressed Mo Zechwan in a solemn voice.
Mo Zechwan, you were once a guard in my imperial palace. You partook of the imperial bounty and wore the imperial livery. Now that you have ascended to the form of a true dragon. It was not solely through Liyue's influence, but rather through the resources of my imperial house. If you are willing to pledge your allegiance anew, I will bestow upon you the title of general, who guards the realm, commanding 100,000 celestial soldiers of the immortal realm, and you shall enjoy endless glory and prosperity.
Mo Zetian tilted his head, as if perplexed, and asked softly, what does it mean to pledge allegiance anew? Su Jilan had long understood Father Emperor's intentions. Fearing Mo Zetian might be swayed by her imperial father's words, she quickly stepped forward, forcing a false smile onto her face. It means you become my companion beast. I am the future empress. My imperial father is the current immortal emperor. My imperial father and I will never mistreat you again. We shall ensure you enjoy all the honor and glory the realm has to offer. Below the viewing platform, the red fox, who had just awoken from the severe injuries of the lightning tribulation, hearing Su Jilan's words, as if grasping at the last straw, once again dragging its injured leg, disregarding its injuries, it stumbled and scrambled onto the platform. It crawled to Su Jilan's feet, its voice weak and laced with entreaty. Jilan, what about me? I have followed you for so long. You cannot abandon me. Su Jilan lowered her head and glanced at the red fox, an unconcealed flicker of disgust in her eyes. That disgust was like a sharp point dipped in venom, piercing deeply into the red fox's heart. If you are still salvageable and can ascend to a nine-tailed fox soon, then you can, along with Mo Zetian, become my companion beast. But if after I inherit the Empress's power, you still have not ascended, then you may leave on your own. By my side, Su Jilan. I never keep useless individuals. On the red fox's heavily wounded face, two clean streaks were carved out by tears. He stared blankly at Su Jilan, the hope in his eyes completely shattered, turning into endless regret and despair. He finally understood that he was nothing more than a pawn to Su Jilan, cherished when useful, and discarded like a worn-out shoe when useless. I stood by the side, observing all of this with cold eyes. My heart held no ripple of emotion, only feeling a sense of profound satisfaction. A treacherous and disloyal creature like this red fox, a sycophant who clings to power, to be reduced to such a state, it is nothing but his just deserts. A lifetime of struggle and a solitary end. That is the most fitting outcome for him. Seeing that Mo Zetian remained unswayed, Imperial Father raised his offer once more. His voice held a persuasive edge. What else do you desire? We can discuss everything. 10,000 taels of gold, 1,000 immortal mansions, rare resources, just name it, and I can grant your every wish. Liyue is merely the second daughter of the imperial lineage. She possesses no true power, and even less of a future. She forcefully underwent tribulation. Even if she manages to survive, she will lose all of her cultivation. You, who transformed from a common black serpent into the five-clawed golden dragon you are today, do you not aspire to soar to greater heights and achieve immense glory? To stand at the very pinnacle of the immortal realm? Mo Zetian, hidden within the clouds, listened to Imperial Father's words. A chilling glint flickered in his eyes. He slowly parted his jaws. A powerful jet of clear water surged forth from his mouth. The water column descended from the heavens, like a celestial river plunging from the 9 firmaments, drenching Imperial Father and Su Jilan with pinpoint accuracy, chilling them both to the bone. Their bodies were utterly soaked, presenting a truly pathetic sight. Though this water column appeared ordinary, devoid of any destructive force, it carried Mo Zetian's profound disdain and mockery. The physical harm was minimal, but the insult was profound. Imperial Father, drenched and seething with fury, felt his accumulated imperial dignity utterly crumble. He flew into a thunderous rage. He was absolutely incandescent with anger. Immortal energy surged around his form, and a fearsome pressure manifested once more. Presumptuous, what if you are a 5-clawed golden dragon? I am the lord of the immortal realm. The dignity of the immortal clan is not something you can casually offend. As his words fell, the Imperial Father raised a hand and swept it through the air. A golden command token soared into the heavens. Carved upon the token were the words "Mobilize troops." It radiated an intense immortal might. In that instant, the clatter of armor echoed from within the clouds. Thousands upon thousands of celestial soldiers and generals surged forth from the cloud cover, clad in silver armor and wielding long spears. Their faces were grim and resolute. They completely encircled the ascension platform. Their spear tips pointed directly at Mo Zetian and me. This was the Imperial Father's ultimate trump card. These were the personal celestial guards protecting the immortal sovereign. Each of them possessed profound cultivation. One could contend with 10 if all of them were to attack simultaneously. Even if Mo Zetian had already become a 5-clawed golden dragon, having just endured his thunder tribulation with his foundation still unsettled, he would absolutely be no match for them. Furthermore, I am currently at a critical juncture of my own tribulation, utterly incapable of joining the fray. Seeing this, the surrounding officials all retreated swiftly, fearful of being drawn into the conflict. The gazes directed at me had shifted from initial scorn to a hint of pity. They all believed I would undoubtedly suffer severe harm today. To dare to defy the immortal sovereign was nothing short of striking a stone with an egg. I turned my face to the heavens and closed my eyes, quietly awaiting the arrival of the heavenly tribulation. In this moment, I felt no fear in my heart, only a sense of release. If today I am destined to meet with calamity, then let this tribulation cleanse past grievances. Even if my very essence is damaged, I will never bow down to the Imperial Father and Su Jilan. Above the gloomy sky, dark clouds gathered thicker and thicker. It was filled with thunder and lightning. Purple heavenly lightning coursed through the clouds, letting out booming roars. The heavenly might was vast and imposing, making the surrounding celestial soldiers and generals dare not easily advance, lest they be injured by the lingering power of the heavenly lightning. Finally, a bolt of purple heavenly lightning, as thick as a water bucket, pierced through the clouds and violently struck down upon me. My body was completely engulfed. The power of the heavenly lightning was overwhelmingly tyrannical, as if it meant to tear my body to shreds. Yet, strangely enough, I did not feel the slightest bit of pain. Instead, I felt within my body a long dormant power. being awakened by the heavenly lightning. That power was vast and boundless, carrying an aura that looked down upon the world. That was the power of the Empress. The Empress's power, hidden within my body, was completely activated by the lightning. It surged and flowed through my meridians, repairing my body which had been damaged from previously extracting vital essence, and was restoring it. My cultivation began to climb steadily, breaking through from Immortal Lord all the way to Immortal Venerable, eventually settling at the realm exclusive to an Empress. Emperor, Venerable. My body slowly ascended beyond my control, enveloped in golden rays of light. Grand Tao immortal music drifted ethereally above the 9 heavens, and crisp immortal melodies echoed between heaven and earth. The primordial violet chi from the 9 heavens slowly covered the ascension platform. Auspicious violet chi descended from the east, bestowing blessings upon all living beings. Between heaven and earth, the spiritual energy that was originally about to dry up under the nourishment of the primordial violet chi became abundant once more. The dense spiritual energy transformed into white mist, lingering between heaven and earth. To inhale but a single breath would make one feel refreshed and invigorated, and greatly increase their cultivation. Those whose vital essence was about to wither away, the ancient immortal elders who were nearing the end of their lifespans. Upon sensing this dense spiritual energy, the wrinkles all over their bodies gradually smoothed out. Their gray hair turned jet black, and they once again radiated the vitality of their youth. The high heavens seemed to have sensed the Empress's arrival and bestowed an unparalleled blessing. A phoenix crown and cape, woven from phoenix feathers, slowly drifted down upon me. The phoenix crown was inlaid with 7 colored immortal pearls, and the cape was embroidered with the motif of 100 birds paying homage to the phoenix. It shimmered with brilliant colors, fully displaying the Empress's imperial splendor. In comparison, the phoenix robe Su Jilan wore, which she had painstakingly sought to obtain, appeared before my phoenix crown and cape, dim and lusterless, like a stolen imitation. Not even a trace of immortal aura remained. I slowly opened my eyes. A flicker of golden imperial light flashed in my eyes, and gazed coldly at Su Jilan. A genuine smile formed on my lips. 2 lifetimes of hatred, countless grievances, could finally be settled today. This impostor, cloaked in lies, was about to pay for her deeds and suffer a grievous consequence. The Empress has descended. All cosmic laws are restored. The entire immortal race erupted into frenzied cheers. On the distant clouds, hundreds of thousands of figures appeared, a dense mass darkening the sky. They were all venerable elders of the Immortal Clan, and mighty cultivators who had lived in seclusion due to the depletion of spiritual energy in the immortal realm, and their vitality waning. They had lived in seclusion in deep mountains for many years, unconcerned with worldly affairs. Now, sensing the Empress's aura and the dense spiritual energy, they emerged from their seclusion one after another, coming to pay homage. They traveled by sword, at incredible speed, and in an instant, arrived above the ascension platform. They simultaneously bowed their heads and knelt before me in reverence. Their voices were perfectly synchronized. The sound reverberated through the very heaven. It echoed through the sky, resounding across the firmament. We respectfully welcome the Empress's return. Long live our Empress. May your majesty live for 10,000 times 10,000 years. The obeisance of hundreds of thousands of people. Its momentum was immense. Heaven and earth themselves trembled in its weight. It was a profound reverence and awe born from the depths of their hearts, and boundless anticipation for the Empress. My father, clad in a brilliant golden robe, stood directly before me. Compared to the phoenix crown and grand ceremonial robes I wore, his attire seemed utterly overshadowed. The oppressive aura surrounding him, before my imperial majesty, was as insignificant as an ant attempting to shake a mighty tree. It was utterly negligible. At this very moment, the imperial might I exuded was enough to instill dread in all who beheld it. With but a single thought, I could strip my father and his thousands of celestial soldiers of all their cultivation. My father perceived from my gaze an absolute and chilling deterrent. That intimidation was icy cold, piercing to the bone, causing him to shiver uncontrollably. He, who had reigned upon the imperial throne for a century, accustomed to a life of privilege and comfort, had never before experienced such an intense, profound dread. For the first time, his eyes revealed a profound mixture of panic and apprehension. Su Liyue, I am your father. Do you intend to defy the established order? I scoffed, my voice cold and laced with derision. My voice, amplified by my imperial might, resounded throughout the entire immortal realm, ensuring every soul heard it with crystal clarity. The Immortal Clan is bound by ancestral precepts. When the Empress is absent, the immortal emperor may temporarily wield her authority. Now that I, the Empress, have returned, and am poised to command the full authority of the Immortal Clan, this is merely aligning with the will of heaven and the desires of the people. Tell me, who exactly is defying the established order? Father, have you forgotten the ancestral decree then? Do you plot treason? My words, my living pronouncement, struck like a mighty hammer, pounding directly into the Imperial Father's heart, and into the hearts of all the Immortal Clan members. The ancestral decree is the very bedrock of the Immortal Clan's existence. None would dare defy it. The Imperial Father's face instantly turned ashen, left speechless. The truth was now laid bare for all to see. Yet, Imperial Father was still unwilling to relinquish the power he held. He coveted the Imperial throne, and that supreme honor. Even though he clearly knew he was no match for me, he still insisted on making a final struggle. Imperial Father, bracing himself with his last shred of confidence, raised his head, his gaze flickering, and questioned, how do you prove it? How do you prove you have inherited the Empress's full power? Perhaps you only received a mere wisp of the Empress's remnant soul, and are not truly the Empress Reborn. In his eyes, I would always be that good for nothing, the unsightly little girl whom everyone rejected. I would always be the harbinger of ill fortune. Only his eldest daughter, Sujilan, was considered the favored daughter of the heavens, the only one truly worthy of ascending to the Empress's throne, to inherit his power. As for me, no matter how hard I strove, no matter what achievements I attained, I could only be my elder sister's stepping stone, a sacrifice on her path to success. Yet now, I, this stepping stone, am about to break free from these shackles and soar to the heavens. I will make all those who have scorned me and those who have wronged me suffer utter defeat. I will make them pay the price for their actions. My brow furrowed slightly, my heart stirred faintly. In that instant, the very world abruptly changed. The originally clear sky was once again shrouded by dark clouds. Terrifying imperial power surged from within my being, sweeping across the entire realm like a tsunami. This imperial power was far more domineering than before, and even more terrifying. It carried the Empress's supreme authority. All who were enveloped by this imperial power felt a suppression originating from their very souls. My imperial father and Sujilan bore the brunt of it. Under the suppression of the imperial power, their legs gave way, and they slumped wretchedly to the ground, trembling all over. They could not even lift their heads. Their immortal energy stagnated within their bodies, unable to circulate, as if all their strength had been drained away. Thousands of celestial soldiers and generals, under the aftershocks of the imperial power, were utterly defenseless. They all dropped the spears in their hands. Unable to bear it, they knelt on one knee before me, bowing their heads in submission, daring not to show the slightest resistance. The surrounding ministers were even more utterly terrified, and immediately knelt down in worship, shouting loudly, "Long live our Empress! May your majesty live for 10,000 years, 10,000 times 10,000 years." I let out a cold laugh. My gaze fell upon my imperial father, and I asked in a cold voice, "Imperial father, can it be proven now?" My imperial father was so suppressed by the imperial power that he could barely breathe. A trace of fresh blood oozed from the corner of his mouth. He struggled to lift his head, looking at me, high above him. The last trace of defiance in his eyes was extinguished. He squeezed out 3 words through gritted teeth. "It is enough." Mo Zedong stood by my side. A flicker of coldness passed through his eyes. He looked at my imperial father and Sujilan on the ground. His voice was icy. "Liyue, why waste words on these people? They wronged you back then, humiliated you, and harmed you. Each and every one of their deeds is unforgivable. Why not dispose of your imperial father and Sujilan, along with all their cohorts, and deal with them all to prevent future troubles permanently?" Mo Zedong's words made the imperial father's body tremble violently. The fear in his eyes intensified. He hastily raised his head and pleaded with me piteously, "Liyue, you must not. To harm one's own kin is a heinous crime, the gravest sin in all the immortal realms. If you were to lay a hand on me, you would forever bear an ill reputation and be scorned by all throughout the land." At this moment, Sujilan was already scared out of her wits, her entire body trembling. She couldn't even utter a single word, and could only cower on the ground, staring at me fixedly with a venomous gaze. In that gaze, there was also a trace of imperceptible fear. I looked down at the 2 figures on the ground, a cold sneer forming in my heart. To let them lose everything, that would be far too lenient for them. Death is not terrifying, nor is losing one's life force. What is truly terrifying is to live, forever trapped in fear and regret, forever atoning for one's own deeds. I said with an indifferent tone, 7 days from now is the anniversary of my mother's passing. You will prepare yourselves and accompany me to the Empress's mausoleum to pay respects to my imperial mother. If you dare to shirk in the slightest, or if your preparations are found wanting, I shall ensure your lives are worse than death. Having spoken, I no longer looked at the 2 figures on the ground, and took Mo Zedong's hand, transformed into a streak of golden light, and flew towards the imperial palace, leaving behind the assembled officials and heavenly soldiers, as well as the imperial father and Sujilan prostrate on the ground, their faces deathly pale. It was not until I had gone far away that the imperial father and Sujilan, still prostrate on the ground, dared to rise. Both their faces were ashen, their clothes disheveled, and they were in a sorry state. They gazed in the direction I had departed, their eyes filled with fear and resentment, yet they dared not show the slightest resistance. Tonight, I did not return to that dilapidated side hall filled with humiliation and pain. Instead, I directly entered the imperial palace's main hall. That was where my imperial mother lived when she was alive, the place where she and I resided together. When my imperial mother was alive, I was her cherished pearl, held in her palm and tenderly cared for. I lived in a warm and comfortable private chamber. There, carved beams and painted rafters adorned the ceilings, and the air was filled with the fragrance of flowers. There were endless exotic fruits and delicacies, and inexhaustible silk and satin garments. It was the most beautiful memory of my childhood. Yet, in the year I turned 3, my imperial mother's illness worsened, and she passed away. Everything changed. I, no longer cherished by anyone, was soon by the imperial father moved to the most secluded side hall of the imperial palace. That side hall was cold, gloomy, and covered in cobwebs. It was as different as heaven and earth from the warm chamber. My memories of the magnificent imperial palace were merely vague, fragmented recollections. Those memories were all connected to my imperial mother. Returning to the warm chamber where I had lived with my imperial mother, seeing the familiar furnishings and smelling the faint fragrance of flowers in the air gave me the illusion of being in a dream, as if my imperial mother had never left, as if I were still that little princess held in her palm. And this time, no one dared to stop me again. The palace maids and eunuchs, seeing me adorned in a phoenix coronet and ceremonial robes, and radiating imperial majesty, were all struck with awe, bowing and kneeling before me. They dared not show the slightest neglect. The maid servants and attendants swiftly tidied my room for me, sweeping it spotlessly clean. They then brought forth an assortment of rare fruits and delicacies. Among them were longevity baby peaches that ripened once every 1,000 years, immortal grapes that bore fruit once every 10,000 years, and a myriad of exquisite pastries. They also presented fine grape wine, whose aroma was rich and mellow, refreshing to the very soul. It was a summer night. The moonlight flowed like water. The bright moonlight streamed through the window lattice, spilling onto the floor of the room, transforming into patches of silver frost. I lay sideways on the soft couch, a cup of fine grape wine in my hand. My gaze, filled with wistfulness, drifted towards the window. The moonlight shimmered on the water's surface, and myriad thoughts surged through my heart. All the events of my previous life flashed through my mind like a film reel. There was my mother's tenderness, the betrayal of Red Fox, my father's indifference, my elder sister's machinations, and Mo Zechwan's steadfast protection. A myriad of emotions surged within my heart. Outside the window lay the lotus pond of the Imperial Garden. Lotuses bloomed profusely in the pond, releasing waves of refreshing fragrance. Within the pond's water, Mo Zechwan's form was faintly discernible. He had transformed into his true form, a golden dragon, swimming freely in the pond. His golden dragon scales under the moonlight emitted a faint ethereal glow, adding a unique splendor to this tranquil night. Before long, Mo Zechwan transformed back into his human form. His upper body was draped with an outer garment, his skin under the moonlight appearing as warm and smooth as white jade. Water droplets slowly slid down his shoulders, falling into the pond, splashing up circles of ripples. He emerged from the water dripping wet. He walked to the window, gently pushing open the window. He sat sideways on the windowsill, almost sitting right beside me. His body carried a faint mist of water and the delicate fragrance of lotus flowers. Liyue, what are you thinking about? Mo Zechwan's voice was low and gentle, like the evening breeze of a summer night, brushing softly against my heart. My fingertips gently lifted, tracing down Mo Zechwan's finely sculpted chin, and continued down to his firm chest, feeling the warmth and strength beneath his skin. Under the moonlight, Mo Zechwan's pupils glowed with a faint golden light. Within that golden glow was an abundance of tenderness and doting affection for me. I let out a soft laugh. The wistfulness in my eyes dissipated, transforming into a smile. Why did I never notice before that you are quite handsome? The Mo Zechwan of the past was merely an inconspicuous guard in the imperial palace, always standing silently behind me, with a reticent and reserved demeanor, head bowed, daring not to meet my gaze. I knew it was because he felt inferior, believing himself to be just a humble guard of lowly status, unworthy to be by my side, a princess. Now, he has ascended to become a true dragon, becoming the legendary 5-clawed golden dragon. His status is exalted. He can finally unburden his heart, and in front of me, reveal his true self, Mo Zechwan, whose courage had gradually grown. Seeing me in this manner, his eyes filled with even deeper tenderness. He leaned in slightly, sitting beside me. His arm gently encircled my waist, pulling me into his embrace. His breath lingered at the tip of my nose. His warm breath brushed against my earlobe, carrying a faint fragrance. His deep, husky voice resonated in my ear. Finally, I am worthy to be with you, rightfully and honorably. All that I am, I owe to you, and you are also everything to me, my sole obsession in this life. His words, tender and profound in their affection, stirred ripples across the lake of my heart. My cheeks flushed faintly, and a trace of panic surged within me, suppressing the turmoil in my heart. I gently pushed him away and feigned indifference, saying, "Cease this foolishness. My tribulation today exhausted much of my spiritual energy. I require rest. Now leave." Yet Mo Zechwan did not depart. He leaned closer, his forehead resting against mine. Our noses almost touched, his eyes brimming with deep affection. "My love, you cannot drive me away." I recalled that when I first forged the pact with Mo Zechwan, making him my companion beast, many had cautioned me, urging me to be wary and not to grow too close to him. Initially, I paid it no mind. He was merely a small serpent. Moreover, Mo Zechwan had always treated me with utmost reverence, never once overstepping his bounds. As we remained together, side by side, our affection deepened further. I propped up my weary body, attempting to rise from the bed, but Mo Zechwan embraced me tightly, pulling me back into his arms. He lowered his head and pressed a soft kiss upon my forehead, his voice gentle, tinged with a hint of playful coaxing. "Liyue, I haven't had enough sleep yet. Stay and sleep with me a little longer." I had no strength to resist. I could only let him hold me, yet a trace of sweetness welled up in my heart. Perhaps this is what it feels like to be loved, secure, and warm. Just then, a guard's respectful report came from outside the door, shattering the warmth of the room. "Your Highness Liyue, someone outside the palace requests an audience," claiming to have an urgent matter to report. Upon hearing this, Mo Zechwan grumpily sat up from the bed, his brows furrowed deeply. He was still muttering under his breath, "Which vexing fellow is such a spoilsport? Do they not know Her Highness requires rest?" Watching his frustrated and helpless expression, I couldn't help but chuckle. The sweetness in my heart intensified. I lifted my hand and planted a kiss on Mo Zechwan's cheek, whispering, "All right, stop being silly. We will have plenty of time later. Let us first go see who has arrived." Upon hearing this, Mo Zechwan only then allowed the frustration in his eyes to dissipate. He nodded, draped an outer robe over me, and then dressed himself. Following behind me, we walked out of the warm chamber together. In the latter half of last night, the heavens unleashed a torrential downpour. Raindrops as large as beans pounded the ground, making a pitter-patter sound. By dawn, not only did the rain not cease, but it fell even harder. The countless raindrops blurred into a continuous sheet, like a curtain of rain, shrouding the entire imperial palace. Outside the main hall, amidst the rain curtain, a vague human silhouette was faintly discernible, kneeling on the frigid ground, drenched through, unmoving, allowing the rain to relentlessly batter his form. I merely cast a glance, and instantly knew his identity. Even if he were reduced to dust, I would never forget him. That silhouette is etched deep within my very bones, bearing the hatred of a past life and the grievances of this one. I ascended the dragon throne once reserved solely for my imperial father. imperial might subtly emanating from my being. I spoke with an indifferent tone. Let him be brought in. Ever since I ascended to the position of Empress, Imperial Father deliberately distanced himself from me, relocating to reside in the Immortal Palace on Northern Mountain. He no longer set foot in the Imperial Palace. Perhaps he feared my power, fearing I would harm him, or perhaps he felt too deeply indebted to me and thus lacked the courage to face me. Now, I had become the undisputed master of the Imperial Palace. In this vast Imperial Palace, no one dared to defy me any longer. Before long, soaked with rainwater, the utterly disheveled Red Fox was dragged in by 2 guards, entering the Immortal Palace. Upon his person, the splendid brocade robes of yesteryear were gone. Those had been bestowed upon him by Su Jilan. Now, however, Su Jilan had reclaimed them. He wore instead a set of coarse cloth garments. The garments were tattered and worn, covered in patches, soaked by the rain. They clung tightly to his form, outlining his frail physique. The patched and ragged attire he wore plunged me into a torrent of memories. Recalling those bygone days from many years past, I recalled a time when Red Fox had yet to take human form, was just a small red fox who followed me all day long. On the day he first took human form, there were no unusual phenomena in the heavens or on earth. His body was bare, without even a proper garment to wear. He stood before me, utterly flustered and embarrassed, at a complete loss. It was I who used my own old clothes to sew his very first garment overnight. Though that garment was simple, every single stitch carried my heartfelt intention. When Red Fox put on that garment, his eyes brimmed with gratitude. He swore to me that he would protect me for all his life. Now, Red Fox appears in a similar coarse cloth garment, attempting to stir memories of when he and I once huddled together for warmth. He seeks to appeal to our past affection, hoping I will spare him. Alas, he can no longer stir any love within me. Only endless hatred remains. The betrayal of a past life, the grievous wound inflicted during childbirth, severed all ties of affection between us. That wound, left upon my neck, is also etched upon my heart. It will never be forgotten, not for all eternity. I asked in a cold voice, my gaze icy cold, devoid of any warmth. Why do you not seek out Su Jilan? Why come running to me? Is she not your beloved? Did you not claim that only a royal heir such as she was worthy of your 9-tailed lineage? Red Fox knelt on the cold ground, his posture utterly subservient. He raised his head, his face streaked with both rain and tears. His voice was choked with sobs, carrying a plea. I am now a broken man, cast out by Su Jilan. She disdains me, for my cultivation is utterly ruined, and I no longer hold any value to her. Liyue, only you can save me. I sat high upon the dragon throne, majestic guards standing on either side. At the foot of the 99 steps, Red Fox stood, drenched from head to toe, looking utterly wretched. A stark contrast to the dashing, spirited Red Fox of the past, the one Su Jilan once cherished above all. He was like a completely different person. Gazing at Red Fox's humble and pathetic appearance, I felt no trace of pity in my heart, only the immense satisfaction of finally exacting my great revenge. This is the consequence of his fawning over power and his treacherous betrayal. This is the price he pays for betraying me, I said, a smile playing on my lips, my laughter thick with mockery. You useless wretch, cast out and abandoned. You should be banished from the immortal realm, never to set foot in it again. Why come running to me? This place has no use for worthless creatures, and certainly not for those who betray loyalty. Red Fox adopted an innocent facade, gazing at me with pitiful eyes. His eyes were filled with desperate pleading, attempting to sway me with the affections of our past. Liyue, after all our years of shared affection, how can you be so utterly heartless? Can you truly forget it all so easily? Remember in the side hall back then, if I hadn't brought you food every single night, you would surely have starved to death long ago. We endured the most difficult times together. Have you forgotten that? I let out a cold, sharp laugh. The chill in my eyes intensified. Of course I won't forget. I will never forget it, not in this lifetime. I cherished you like a precious gem, pouring out my very heart to you. For your sake, I even extracted my own heart's essence and fed it to you, to help you ascend and become a 9-tailed fox. Yet you cast me aside like a discarded shoe, all to cling to power and influence. At my most vulnerable during childbirth, you inflicted a devastating wound upon my neck, then went off to live a blissful life with Su Jilan. As deep as my affections for you once ran, so profound is my hatred now. That hatred has pierced my very bones, unforgettable for all eternity. Still, Red Fox refused to give up. He crawled forward a few steps on his knees, attempting to ascend the steps, but was stopped by the guards. He could only remain kneeling at the foot of the steps, pleading desperately. Liyue, it was my fault before. I was blinded by folly, and my eyes were deceived by Su Jilan's honeyed lies. I know I was wrong. Please forgive me this one time. As long as you can forgive me, I will do anything you ask. I am willing to serve you my entire life like an ox or a horse. I am even willing to join Mo Zechuan and become your companion beast. I will brave any danger for you, even fire and water. In the Red Fox's eyes, there was a profound longing, but I saw through his intentions at a glance. What he longed for was not me, nor was it repentance. It was this dragon throne I sit upon. It was the power of my Empress's position. It was the strength of the Empress's power within me. As long as he could gain power, and once again possess great strength, whether it was with Su Jilan or with Su Liyue, it mattered not. The one he loved was always only himself. A person like this, the more he feigned sincerity, the more he humbly pleaded, the more repugnant I found him. I asked with a cold laugh, a hint of mockery flashing in my eyes, you truly are willing to do anything for me, even if it means climbing a mountain of blades or descending into a sea of fire. The hopeful gleam in the Red Fox's eyes intensified. He thought I had relented. He immediately nodded like a chick pecking at rice. His head nearly broke from bowing. I am willing to do anything. I swear upon my life, every word I have spoken today is true. Should there be even a single false word? May divine lightning strike me down if I utter a single falsehood. I couldn't help but laugh aloud. I then beckoned to the guards at my side and stated coolly, take Hongwu away. strip him of his cultivation, and let him serve as a menial in the palace. He shall atone for his transgressions for the rest of his life. The guards, upon hearing this, immediately stepped forward, seizing Hongu by the arms, and dragged him towards the palace exit. Hongu was utterly terrified, and cried out in terror, his voice shrill and desperate. Liyue, I was wrong. I truly was wrong. I beg you, for the sake of the many years we shared, spare my life. I will never dare again. I will never betray you again. His pleas were heart-wrenching, yet they failed to move me in the slightest. Only an icy coldness remained in my heart. From this day forward, Hongu would no longer be able to rely on his charming appearance or his honeyed words and artful charm to curry favor with the powerful. Serving as a menial and enduring torment day in and day out was his rightful fate, and the punishment he deserved. A brief 7 days passed in the blink of an eye. My royal father, following my instructions, dared not delay for an instant, brought Su Jilan and prepared the sacrificial offerings to accompany me to the imperial mausoleum to offer sacrifices to my imperial mother. My imperial mother passed away exactly 20 years ago. According to the royal customs of the Immortal Clan, the Empress's mausoleum must be honored with rites during the 3 annual festivals. These are the Festival of Pure Brightness, the Ghost Festival, and my imperial mother's death anniversary. With each ritual, all members of the imperial clan must attend in person, presenting lavish offerings and holding a grand sacrificial ceremony. Yet, for 20 full years, my imperial father never once visited my imperial mother's tomb. Others in the palace dared not even mention her, as if my imperial mother had never existed. Not a single soul came to honor my imperial mother. My imperial mother's tomb had long been forgotten in a corner, overgrown with weeds. Only I, each year on my imperial mother's death anniversary, would use the meager silver in my purse to buy some simple fruits and secretly go to the imperial mausoleum to honor my imperial mother and keep her company. In stark contrast, some of my imperial father's favored concubines, even if they were merely minor beauties, after their passing, my imperial father would construct magnificent tombs for them. Each year their rituals used rare offerings with unprecedented grandeur. Compared to my imperial mother's desolate grave, the contrast was striking. At first, I did not understand why my imperial father would forget my imperial mother's very existence completely and utterly, why he would neglect her so utterly. I once found an opportunity to cautiously remind my imperial father that my imperial mother's death anniversary was approaching, but what I received in return was my imperial father's furious outburst and a full month of confinement. During that month, I was confined to a side hall, unable to even eat my fill. It was from that moment on that I finally understood. My imperial father had not forgotten her. He was deliberately choosing to forget my imperial mother. He simply did not care for my imperial mother's life, and even for my imperial mother's demise, he even felt a sense of relief. As for the reason behind it, it was only after my rebirth that I expended a great deal of effort and investigated for a long time before I finally uncovered the hidden truth. That secret made me regard my imperial father with utter disappointment and even deep hatred. Today, my imperial father sat in his magnificent imperial carriage, his face so grim it seemed to drip with displeasure. An oppressive aura emanated from him, clearly indicating his extreme dissatisfaction with this sacrificial ceremony. Yet, he dared not defy my command. As for myself, for the first time, in my capacity as a princess, I was accorded the proper protocol and took my seat in the phoenix carriage reserved for an empress. The phoenix carriage was drawn by 8 celestial deer, its entire frame intricately carved with phoenix motifs. It shimmered with iridescent light. As it moved, it was accompanied by celestial music, creating a truly grand spectacle. The long procession journeyed northward through layers of clouds and mist until we reached the imperial mausoleum. The imperial mausoleum spanned an immense area. Within it lay the tombs of imperial kin and nobility from generations of the Immortal Clan. Each tomb was magnificently adorned with carved beams and painted rafters. They were watched over by dedicated guards and received continuous incense offerings year-round. Yet, only my imperial mother's tomb was relegated to the most secluded corner of the mausoleum, standing starkly apart from all the others. We passed by one splendidly maintained tomb after another until we arrived before a desolate grave mound. The neglected mound lay unattended. Waist-high weeds and wildflowers grew rampant upon it. Cobwebs clung to the tombstone, its inscription blurred and indistinct. There wasn't even a proper tombstone, just a crude bluestone slab. Upon it were carved the words, "Tomb of Empress, Su." These words had long since been eroded by wind and rain, barely legible. My imperial father sat in his imperial carriage, frowning. He said impatiently, "Quickly place the offerings. After a simple ceremony, let us leave as soon as possible. The energy here is too oppressive. It is ill-omened." Su Jilan also stepped down from the imperial carriage, frowning, pinching her nose, her face filled with utter disgust. She said with displeasure, "This wretched place, it is utterly ill-omened. Weeds are everywhere, and there is a foul odor lingering. I truly don't understand why we must come here to offer sacrifices. Someone who passed away 20 years ago. Is it worth all this trouble for them?" Su Jilan's words were like a needle, piercing deeply into my heart. My imperial mother was her foster mother. Even if they weren't blood-related, my imperial mother had raised her for several years. Yet, she spoke so disrespectfully and showed such utter disdain for my imperial mother's tomb. I cast a cold glance at Su Jilan. A glint of coldness flashed in my eyes. I said, word for word, "Slap her." Seeing this, Su Jilan, terrified, quickly cowered behind my imperial father, tugging at my imperial father's sleeve, and cried out, wronged. Imperial father, look at her. Su Liyue has inherited the power of the Empress Regnant, and she dares to be so presumptuous. She dares to order me to be struck. She dares to defy me. If this continues by tomorrow, won't she try to seize your imperial throne and depose you as the Immortal Emperor? Huh. If I desired to seize the imperial throne, why would I need to wait until tomorrow? As the reincarnation of the female emperor, and having awakened the female emperor's power, I have secured 1,000 years of destiny for the Immortal Clan. The clan elders and reclusive grand sages have long since pledged their unwavering allegiance to me. If I wish to depose imperial father, it would merely be a matter of a single word. The current imperial father, whether by might or by influence, is far from being my equal. The meager military authority he commands, before my imperial might and Mozechuan's dragon majesty, is utterly insignificant and easily shattered. Imperial father and I met gazes for a long moment. From my gaze, he perceived an undeniable resolve. Ultimately, he finally lowered his head, relinquishing any attempt to defend Su Jilan. He spoke with resignation. Jilan, slap your own face. You spoke improperly. Su Jilan stared at imperial father in disbelief, her eyes brimming with grievance and indignation. Tears welled in her eyes as she choked out, Imperial father, how can even you side with Su Liyue? You used to favor me above all others. You once said that you would protect me for my entire life. How could you command me to slap my own face? I gazed at Su Jilan with contempt. For the first time, I profoundly realized the depth of her foolishness and ignorance. Were it not for imperial father's patronage, with Su Jilan's meager abilities and aptitude, she would not even be fit to serve as a mere attendant in the imperial palace. She is merely a pawn in imperial father's hands, a pawn used to suppress me and solidify his imperial authority. Yet she foolishly persists in believing that imperial father genuinely favors her. I could not be bothered to waste further words on Su Jilan. I spoke calmly to Mozechuan, who stood beside me. Mozechuan, if she refuses to slap her own face, you will assist her shortly. Show no mercy. A cold glint flashed in Mozechuan's eyes. He responded in a deep voice, very well. Once Su Jilan felt in Mozechuan's eyes the intense deterrence emanating from them, she finally grew afraid. No longer daring to be defiant, she reluctantly raised her arm and lightly slapped her own face. That force was as light as a feather, showing no sincerity whatsoever. I said indifferently, that is not enough. Continue until I am satisfied. Seeing this, the emperor frowned, a pang of reluctance in his heart, and spoke up to plead. Liyue, no matter what, she is still your elder sister. Blood is thicker than water. You should know when to stop. Do not go too far. Before he could finish his words, the emperor was met with my icy gaze, and dared not utter another sound. Su Jilan once again raised her arm, and slapped her own face. Mozechuan could no longer stand to watch. He flashed forward, his hands striking left and right. His slaps rained down like a storm. With a rapid patter, Su Jilan was slapped until her face was distorted, her teeth scattered across the ground, her entire face swelled up like a pig's head, her eyes narrowed to mere slits. At first, Su Jilan still screamed at me, but later she didn't even have the strength to curse. She could only glare at me with hateful, guttural sounds. After Su Jilan's foul mouth had been thoroughly slapped, the sacrificial ceremony officially began. At my request, the palace maids began to tidy the tomb, clear away the weeds, clean the gravestone, present various offerings. The tomb, once gloomy and desolate, not long after, it was tidied and looked completely refreshed. I stood before the tomb and respectfully kowtowed. After kowtowing, I cast my gaze upon Su Jilan. It is your turn. Su Jilan harbored resentment in her eyes, her heart filled with anger. She reluctantly knelt down, watching Su Jilan's expression of utter disgust. It was as if the one buried in the tomb was not her mother at all, but an enemy. After Su Jilan finished kowtowing, Father Emperor asked, harboring anger, "Are you satisfied now?" I smiled and said, "No, I am not. Su Jilan has already kowtowed. What about your majesty?" Father Emperor immediately became enraged. "I am the esteemed Immortal Emperor. You demand that I kneel before a deceased person?" The next instant, I unleashed the Empress's oppressive aura. Father Emperor's arrogant bluster was instantly suppressed. Under my oppressive aura, Father Emperor laboriously raised his head and said unwillingly, "Your mother's passing." I was also deeply pained, but I could not save her. When she gave birth to you, her vital energy was severely depleted. All the imperial physicians in the palace had treated her, but no one could reverse her fate. I have not wronged your mother, nor should you humiliate me in such a manner. A husband kneeling before his wife. Are you not afraid your mother would be shamed by this? If it were in the past, I would surely have been misled by Father Emperor, but his actions and deeds, I had long since investigated every detail. Each and every one of his deeds, every single transgression, taken individually, would be enough for me to deal with this faithless man. He is unfit to be a husband, unfit to be an emperor father, and even more unfit to be a human being. I said coldly, "Today, I demand you kneel before Empress Mother's grave and repent. If you dare utter a single word of defiance, I will strike you down immediately." The Emperor father could no longer restrain his fury. A flicker of murderous intent flashed in his eyes. He abruptly channeled his power and lunged towards me. Before I could even make a move, Mozechuan struck him with a single palm, sending him spitting blood and flying backward. I lightly tapped the void with my fingertip. Above the Emperor father's head, a long sword forged from the very fabric of the cosmos appeared. Should my finger merely descend, he would lose all his cultivation. At this moment, the Emperor father finally understood. No matter how immense his power or authority, he was powerless to resist. In the face of true power, his perceived dignity was of no consequence. The Emperor Father obediently knelt before my mother's tomb. He lowered his head and asked, mortified, "What do you wish for me to say?" I said indifferently, "All the myriad crimes you committed back then, and the immense debt you owe my Empress Mother. Speak of them all. I grant you 2 hours to do so. If you omit anything, or conceal any part of it, I will personally deal with you." At this moment, the loyal old retainers of the Immortal Court could no longer bear to watch. "Princess Liyue, you have already ascended to Empress. Why must you relentlessly persecute the Immortal Emperor? Should you punish the Immortal Emperor, it would also affect your Majesty's own reputation. Even as Empress Regnant, you should not indulge your own power and act with impunity." A group of old officials, each harbored some degree of dissatisfaction with my actions. I spoke calmly. "All of you, listen closely. Listen to what good deeds the Immortal Emperor, whom you have always revered, truly committed back then. Under the threat of his life, Father Emperor, left with no recourse, could only kneel before Mother Empress's tomb and began to recount the hidden secrets from many years past. In those days, my Mother Empress was the daughter of a prominent noble family from the Immortal Realm. She commanded vast resources. It was through Mother Empress's unwavering support that Father Emperor gradually solidified his position on the throne. However, once he had ascended the throne, Father Emperor remained unsatisfied. Mother Empress wielded too much power, and her contributions to the Immortal Clan were even more significant. She garnered extensive support from many venerable officials within the court. For an exceedingly long period, the factions of Father Emperor and Mother Empress remained almost equally matched. Whenever Father Emperor desired to take a concubine or squander imperial treasury funds on building palaces, Mother Empress would invariably step forward to oppose him. As time wore on, Father Emperor's resentment intensified. He began to suppress and neglect Mother Empress. The first step Father Emperor took was to take a daughter of a renowned Immortal Clan family as his concubine. She then bore him his first daughter, who is my elder sister. For years, Father Emperor had secretly administered contraceptive herbs to Mother Empress, which resulted in her prolonged inability to conceive a child. After his concubine gave birth, Father Emperor, under the guise of doing what was best for Mother Empress, secretly arranged for the child to be adopted by her. This way, Mother Empress, who was unable to bear children, would still have the opportunity to experience motherhood. Furthermore, the future imperial throne would be inherited by the child born to Father Emperor and his concubine. Mother Empress, feeling helpless at heart, could only choose to agree. At this juncture, this was already the best possible outcome. If they had openly turned against each other, my Imperial Father was not confident he could contend with my Imperial Mother's faction. Next, my Imperial Father only needed to gradually transfer power into Su Jilan's hands. Then, he could unite with the concubine to effectively strip my Imperial Mother of her authority. To achieve this without shedding a single drop of blood was truly a brilliant strategy. To thank my Imperial Mother for adopting Su Jilan, my Imperial Father feigned attentiveness and spent those few days with her. Unexpectedly, my Imperial Mother became pregnant with me. According to the Imperial regulations, the child who would inherit the throne had to be born to the principal consort. My birth stripped Su Jilan of all her resources. My Imperial Father's concubine could no longer hope to rise in status through her child. Left with no other choice, my Imperial Father took a desperate risk and began to openly contend with my Imperial Mother's faction. The internal strife within the Immortal Clan resulted in countless casualties because my Imperial Mother had been given contraceptive medicines for years and received no care after childbirth. She fell ill and passed away 3 years later. With my Imperial Mother's passing, the faction supporting her also gradually declined. Only then did my Imperial Father truly secure his position on the throne. This is also why my Imperial Father was biased, and why his disdain for me grew stronger. After the assembled officials listened to my Imperial Father's account, they all fell into a prolonged silence. They probably never imagined that the seemingly righteous and awe-inspiring and lofty Immortal Emperor would be such a contemptible character behind closed doors. Su Jilan, who had known all of this for a long time, simply glared at me with hatred, uttering not a single word. His power had been seized, his dignity trampled. My Imperial Father, now stripped of everything, was glaring at me fiercely. "Su Liyue, are you satisfied now?" With a wave of my hand, the Imperial robes on my Imperial Father vanished, replaced by robes of coarse linen. I, clad in a phoenix coronet and robes of rank, stood directly before the assembled officials. From this moment forth, the Immortal Court shall have but one Empress, myself. I have stripped my Imperial Father of his cultivation. Henceforth, he shall guard Mother's tomb day and night, until his dying day. The debts my Imperial Father owed Mother shall be repaid over the next several centuries, or even a millennium, little by little. As for my half-sister, Su Zilan, I in my magnanimity spared her life. I have abolished her cultivation and condemned her to the laundry bureau to wash the soiled garments of the palace menials. The Red Fox serves as a menial. Su Zilan washes clothes. Their statuses are quite a match. They can perfectly rekindle their past affections. I, along with Mo Zechuan, shall take over Mother's duties and continue to safeguard the entire Immortal Clan.